Welcome to the Good Get podcast. I'm your host, Evan Tepper, and today we are joined by Twisted Pickle's Ashlee Blakley. Hey, Ashlee, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Hello,
Yes.
Evan. Happy whatever today is, Thursday.
Yeah, that's right. And you're in Dallas today?
Yes, we are in Dallas, Texas. I just got back from Charleston, South Carolina for the first time and got to play some pickleball out there for July 4th. So that was really fun.
Really cool. Yeah, I meant to ask how your vacation was, but I'm glad it sounds like it was excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. What are you into? Obviously, pickleball. You have Twisted Pickle. I want to get into that as well. But tell us a little bit about your coming up story and your career.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in Dallas, Texas. Went to college in Texas and then moved out to Hollywood and always knew I would work in TV and film. So I was out there as a production makeup artist on set. So I was out there for, 10 years working TV and film and movies and commercial work and television sitcom and absolutely loved it. Got married but my now ex-husband is a chef. And so I don't know if you know, Evan, but culinary school is about a $35,000 difference from Texas and California. So I was like, guess what?
Yeah.
So we moved back to Texas and I was just considered bi-coastal. And so I would just fly out of DFW versus flying out of, LA, obviously, or being right there. But, after 10 years, you've gotten a really good name for yourself. So a lot of people were fine, just in the budget to have you fly in. So I did that for a really long time. And I've done Fashion Week all over the globe and Paris and Tokyo and Vietnam and obviously New York and LA and, Italy, all the things, all the greatness, but obviously always kind of being in that marketing bucket and behind the scenes, I always understood what production took and working with producers and directors. So then I kind of stepped into more of the big box beauty arena and continued in the marketing space and became a video producer. So I helped, really large makeup companies have a presence video wise. As you know, video marketing is huge, and especially, after COVID. And so I would help them have videos for Sephora and Ulta and, things for their websites. And then that caveated into helping small businesses have a online digital presence through social media and video marketing, because I think people didn't really realize the message you can get across so fast in video marketing. So for the last few years, I've been helping businesses have a better online digital presence. And and then we started Twisted Pickle. Gosh, Evan, that was beginning of January 2023.
Okay.
So this next January will be 2 years. So a good solid year and a half. And I have a business partner. Her name is Suzanne Griever. And so we are the two great think tanks that come from two completely different backgrounds that merge together to bring you Twisted Pickle. And we both started playing about 2 years ago. And about 6 months later, we were like, hey, I'm entrepreneur by nature, and I always want to be working on something new, and I love taking a risk. And so that's kind of how we are to present day right now with Twisted Pickle.
Yeah, that's great. So I do want to talk about pickleball and I want to talk about Twisted Pickle, but I want to go back to your days in Hollywood and mingling with like the who's who and the Hollywood elites. I was going to ask like who the biggest celebrity is that you've met, but there's probably dozens. So who is your favorite celebrity that you've interacted with and you've spent some time with?
I would say my favorite, I think not because of male versus female. I think it was just the situation that we were in, because I'll start by saying movies back then, because I probably rode to movie set on a dinosaur because I'm so old. But I think that it's because movies take so long, and hair and makeup and wardrobe, if there's a human involved, we're the first people there and the last one to leave. So those just take a lot as to where working in commercial runway fashion and also working in comedy are much more 9 to 5. You have a set time. to where movies just seem to endlessly, and if an actor can't get their line, you're about to freak out because you know that's the difference of you staying another hour versus another 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I feel like movies were always hard. So those kind of, I don't ever even talk about that side of it because that's such a different, but I think as far as internally loving somebody who sings to my soul, there's two that come up, and it was Chris Cooper and it was Tom Hanks. And I think, and so I did a lot of press junket work when I moved back to Dallas. And so I had a contract with anything that was a Universal film, and they were coming through Texas to do press, would go through, my maiden name is Erickson. So everybody in that world knows me as Ashlee Erickson. And so I would always, when they would come to Dallas and we would do, radio snippets and all the interviews and the press junkets, I always had that contract. So I always have this wonderful, yummy day of hearing Tom down screaming my name in such a great way that I remember thinking, oh my God, it's like Toy Story all over again. It was like the second time I'd met him. The first time was in LA. My one of my wonderful friends was his agent back in the day, but then having him here in Texas, and it was just a lighthearted press junket day for a movie he was doing, and I hear him down the hall being like, has anybody seen Ashlee? And I was like, oh my God, it's like Woody going down the hallway. We all love the Toy Story movies, right? So that was great. And then Chris Cooper is just a phenomenal actor, but he's super philanthropic, as is Kevin Costner. And we just had some great days together of talking about football and herbal tea. And it's so funny because I think people have this misconception that, yeah, there is the definite lane of it being very hyperactive and all these massive things going on and paparazzi and all the things. And then there's these quiet moments that makeup and hair and wardrobe get, because we're right there in the middle of everything. And so you get to see like the human side of that person. So that's what's really lovely about that.
Well, that's like where the gal that does my hair, she's like the armchair psychiatrist.
Always.
Right? So like she put,
hair people have it way worse. Makeup, because I was in your face. So I would put in my earbuds, because after a while I don't want to have conversation with people. And so you put in your earbuds, but because you're working on the face, we don't get it as much. But hairstylists, and especially on set working, we call them working therapists. They're not really hairstylists.
Yeah.
They have it so hard. I mean, it's true.
Right. Well, that's great. I mean, Tom Hanks seems like just a genuine guy. He's a global superstar, but he also could be like the elementary school principal. He seems like a nice,
literally the one of the nicest, most warm, genuine people that I think I've ever met. In that lane of, obviously there's a lot of amazing, warm people out there, but in that lane specifically, I think that's what people always want to know, is kind of what happens in that lane. Like I said, when you get to be that inside person, you almost become like the parent on set, because they're in such a disarray all the time and everyone's in their face and asking and pointing and tapping on them. And you kind of just are that calm presence with them. So it's
nice. Yeah, that's great. Well, let's jump back to pickleball. So you started playing a few years ago. Tell me, like, what was it that got you out there the first time?
No, it's a good story. I started playing 2 years ago. My best friend, Sheila, lives in LA still. She's a fire captain out there in PIO in LA. And so we've been friends since I think I was in eighth grade. And she's always played, and she played, before COVID and everything, when it really started to boom. But every time I was out there visiting or for work and staying with her, it was always like, Ashlee, you have to come out here and play. And I was like, how we all are in the beginning. Everyone that's like, pickleball, seriously, Sheila, come on. And so she finally put a paddle in my hand. I relented because I adore her. And so we went out there. And the funny thing is, Evan, her husband put it on Instagram. And so we're out there playing, and he gets some shots or whatever of us playing. And you could tell I'm completely like, uh-huh. And so we go and we put it on social media. And when I get back from the trip, I have a group of guys I went to high school with. And we always call him my pickleball husband. Keith says, oh my God, Ashlee, you're playing pickleball. And I was like, no. It was just one time. Like I was just placating Sheila and Kojo on it, and they were like, no, we'll pick you up Saturday at 8 o'clock. We're going to Lifetime, and I was like, no, y'all, this was just a fun something. So long story short, that's how it started. So I got started with Sheila in LA, and then I came back, and Keith kind of kept me going and really made me go. And then the addiction happened pretty quick, and I started taking beginners classes, and you just meet people, and when you're a natural talker, it's super easy. And then we would all kind of stress out together, and then decide to like rent a court, reserve a court together, and then it just starts. And the better you get, I mean, I always tell people it's the easiest sport to start, and it's the hardest one to master, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but you start opening up and meeting people, and then that becomes your networking and becomes your free time. And even when you were in town and we were like, we've got to get together and play, it just opens up so many avenues. It's crazy. It's like an unlocking of a chest, and you just keep opening drawers.
It's 100%. So I agree with everything except the hardest to master. That's got to be golf. But it made me,
that's very true. I've not played golf.
Yeah, and it made me think of something else though, right? Because golf is sort of notorious for networking and like the old boys club. But I would argue that pickleball is way better for networking, way better for going out with your clients, customers, boss, whatever. Because there's just like more opportunity to chat. There's way more opportunity, especially if you do open play and kind of just rotating through. The opportunity to meet new people is unbelievable.
Well, and I think golf sits in that same lane like tennis does. It's such a singular sport. Yeah, I mean, it's different if you're out with the guys on with your, cart, and you're drinking all day and having fun. I get that, but it's still such a singular sport to where, for us with like PPA and MLP and doubles kind of reign supreme unless you're like amazing and you're doing singles. And it's also, we're a much more casual sport to where, tennis is don't talk, and golf is nobody can say anything whenever it's happening. And pickleball, it's like, even if you watch it on YouTube today, it's still a party. And I think that's what keeps that going, and why we it's so community based. So that's what makes sense.
That is great. Okay, so what's your addiction level, 1 through 10?
Evan, I mean, in the beginning it was a hard 8. I think now it is so funny when you turn a passion into a business. Suzanne and I always talk about this. You really have to watch yourself in the fact of, the business side of it, right? You see the other side. And so it's like, we still have to make space to drill and to get out and play. And I think we try to stay so cognizant of that. It's like, anything in starting a business and any industry lane that you're in, has its ass beating moments, right? So you have to remember why you fell in love with this in the beginning. And I think because we live in a lane of opening facilities and doing all these things because we see the backside of it, again, we're like, oh, that's right. Today we're not going to consult and work with our client. We're just going to go play pickleball, and that's been a journey unto itself. I didn't see coming. Because it was like, oh my gosh, we love this sport. We owe our health to it. We're excited, and we're in our 50s now, and we're doing something we never thought we'd do. And then it's like, sometimes the last thing I want to do is talk about pickleball, which I never thought I'd hear myself say,
Yeah, I get it. I get it totally. So, and we'll chat about Twisted Pickle in a minute. There's a few more questions I want to ask. What is it that you love most about playing?
That's a really good question. What do I love most about playing pickleball?
Yeah. Or what do you love most about the sport?
I think that I think that it gave me confidence back that I turned 50 last year. We had this huge party in Nashville, and I think I'm so joyful that it's a sport I got into. I was never into league sports growing up. I was in the dancer lane. And so that whole world was really new to me. So unless I'd been forced into it, I mean, Evan, 2 years ago, I would have never told you I would have been in the sport industry now. I mean, it's amazing, but I think I turned 51, July 27th. And I think I try to look back and remember, like, I'm so grateful to the sport that I even get to play it, and that I'm healthy and it keeps me healthy. So I think I'm so grateful to be a part of it, right?
Yeah.
More than just necessarily like like the play of it. And it's given me in my walking into my early 50s now such an identity of people of all ages. And it's like this fraternity that we're all in.
Yeah.
And we're okay if you're on the outside and don't get it, right? But when you're on the inside, like we all love it hard, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think it's that community feel, not to, kind of go back to the ease of always talking about the community. But at 50, I just never saw it coming. So I think I'm just more grateful to the sport than anything else.
Yeah. And you're not, I mean, you're no slouch. Like you're a very good player. When we played, yeah, you're a
Oh, thank you.
fantastic player. Yeah.
You are as well. I was so glad we got to do that.
Yeah, that was a really good time. So it sounds like it's like been very enriching. You probably garnered a lot of new friends. I know I have. And
Yeah.
just to your point, across the age spectrum, demographic spectrum, background spectrum, and so forth,
Yeah.
which is nice because it like brings me out of my, my small world that I operate in. I have my business. I'm married
Yeah.
with 2 young kids, so I'm like operating in that area. We have family. So we spend like all of our time
Right.
with like for like the most part, like a small group of people. And then it's nice to be able to like have that diversity
Yeah.
in my life as well.
Well, and even like look at you and I. I mean, we just started talking because
Yeah.
of both of us having a business, and then we keep on keeping up with each other. And I'm like, Evan, get down here to Texas and come in for nationals last November,
Mhm.
and then you did come in town for a wedding, and we hung out. And
Yeah.
I'm an empty nester now,
Hmm.
and so for the first time at 50, I'm not caring for kids. To where your journey is just
Yeah.
starting on that, right? But now we're friends and we're both in this space, and that's
Totally.
what
Yeah.
I think is so it's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a guy in particular, John, that I play with, and he's 82, maybe he's 83 now, but he had a full hip replacement last year. And I mean, John's just like the loveliest guy. And yeah, I consider John a friend. Like
Good.
and it's so cool. Yeah, it's so great. What advice would you give to somebody who hasn't played and is maybe thinking about it or is perhaps intimidated? Like, what's their best first step?
I mean, I always feel like the first thing I say, because I have so many friends that are like, again, my age, and we're all kind of looking for that next lane.
Yeah.
And everyone is, I want to find my pickleball. And I'm like, okay, and if you, so then we talk a lot about the sport of pickleball. And I think people are so intimidated and so scared. And it's like anything. It's like that first day, even when we went to a new club and you're walking in by yourself, you still feel like that new kid that just moved to town that's going to junior high for the first time, and you're terrified and all the things. That doesn't go away at 50.
Hmm.
But I always tell people the greatest thing that you can do is go take a beginner's class and meet the other beginners. I mean,
Yeah.
there is so much comfort in community and comfort in people being at the same level. Because I can't imagine when I hear the horror stories about people that are like, yeah, so my friend brought me and then we went to an open play and they wound up all being, totally over me and they were really great players. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, that's like, why would you do that? Like you've never swam before, but you're going to jump into an Olympic pool. Like,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
find where you're at and make that. I mean, there is nothing. That first class I took at the rec center by my house, I think I took a series of 3. And then again, like I was saying, to meet other people and we're all on that level. And it's like, okay, great. What if we reserve a court? Can we all come back and hang out together and do it? And then it was like, then we all took classes together, and that instantly Addwater started a community for me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really great. Okay. So tell us a little bit about Twisted Pickle. Like, what is it that you
Yeah.
guys do? Go on.
So we are a literal Twisted Pickle. What we do is we are business consultants, and our niche is helping these indoor facilities operationalize with business development, risk assessment, scaling their business. We love to help the one-off, and one of our clients right now, who's about 40 minutes north of us, it's their first one, and they want to open 3. And so, and then we've worked with, chain accounts before or franchises. And so it's really, when we started off, as you do in any business and consulting, we wanted to be everything to everybody. And then
Yeah.
Suzanne and I really had to start niching down about what her background is versus what my background is, and bring those, her 20 years and my 20 years together to maximize for our clients. And so we are really, I mean, like we always talk about, we want to help these businesses because we work with brands too, but we also just have this niche of being able to help these specifically indoor facilities with a go-to-market plan. And that's usually a 6-month contract, and we do 3 months before launch. We can start earlier, but we always want to do 3 months after. So one of our lanes of living is always, we want to start strong on day one, but keep you strong on day 1,000.
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of the problem in any industry, not obviously just pickleball or indoor facilities, but it's restaurants. It's a ton of things people open. They don't have a go-to-market plan prior, and they don't have a stay in the market afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so not only the business operations and development, but we help out with your marketing, your social media, having because again, being a video producer, that's one of the first things we love to do is put our videography and do like meet and greet videos, because so many people lose the background story. And so we try to help not only consult, but also educate and teach, so that when we take you out into the wild and we're done with our contract and we let you go out on your own, you've actually learned a skill set. So like one of my last videos the other day was a dad, and you know it well, Evan, a dad like trying to get out of bed with his toddler and all the things. And, he's trying to let that toddler sleep on his own. It's exactly what we do. We come in, we mentor, and we handhold, and we're therapists, and we get them exactly where they need to be to start on day one, and then how to keep strong on day 1,000.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
You sound passionate about it. It's a little bit of a pivot from what you had been doing, but
Yeah.
I think just with your creative background, how social you are, and how many people you know, it seems like a natural fit.
Yes. Well, and it's great because Suzanne's side is she's always been in risk assessment, customer service. She runs hospitals. She's been a CEO of a hospital here in Dallas. And then she was always heavy into construction with the hospitals. And so that was where we really started off, was helping, kind of help these construction companies find really good clients. That was one of our, silos of operation, because now, with the surge of everything, everybody wants to build something, but they don't know where to go. And so we were like helping out to vet people, because Suzanne's great in that lane as well. And then just the marriage of my video producing and my networking, and I never meet a stranger, and I'm always coming up with something. It was just such a perfect union. And then hence that's even where the kitchen cabinet came from.
Right. So you have a little bit of a inside look at what's going on. What do you think the future holds for pickleball? Is there anything that, for somebody that's not on the inside, like anything like that's not so obvious for the sport?
I don't know that I would love to say that my crystal ball can always tell me 5 to 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
But like I said, 2 years ago, I wouldn't have told you. As a video producer, I'm now putting all my skill sets to work for, pickleball franchises and brands. But, I definitely don't think it's going anywhere. I think the collegiate, high school, junior high, elementary is going to blow up. I think, states that have already, obviously Washington, Utah, New York, the states that really see it early, and understand that, we're really trying to get kids out of gaming and sitting in front of a computer all the time, and getting these paddles in kids' hands as early as recess in elementary school. And then, and to help that growth, and that, I think, helping out with depression and anxiety and all the things by getting kids outside is such a beautiful avenue that we're really going to start seeing with pickleball, because it is so easy to take 10 kids out with a teacher and give a few paddles and get out there. And then I think that brings in their parents loving it, and their parents wanting to get involved, and then grandparents are in town for the holidays. So then it becomes a family environment and a community environment. And then what it's going to do for those kids that need different scholarship routes for going to college is going to be huge. For us here locally, UT in Austin, already has an amazing pickleball society down there. TCU in Fort Worth here already does scholarships with it. Suzanne and I both went to Texas A&M, and they're getting on board with it. And so I think it's going to be really about helping out that youth I think it's obviously great for adults and we all see the benefits, but I think the youth that needs a little bit more understanding of what that's going to bring, I think is going to be huge for the sport.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the younger, like the average age of the players is coming down by the day.
Yeah, it's
Because
34 now.
Yeah, because we're seeing so many younger players, and as we made a comment before about like this being multi-generational, and I love going out and playing with people of all ages and so forth. But I'm saying that like as a guy who's in his early 40s, not as a guy who's in his early 20s or teens
Right.
or even preteens. And so like if you think about that, if you think about somebody who's 13-year-old gets into the sport, their parents get into the sport, their grandparents are already into the sport, right? And now you can all go out and like seemingly like play together and play like everybody can play competitively.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is literally one person in my family, and I won't call her out, that doesn't play the sport. And so on your exact note, Evan, it's like every time we're together for any holiday, you know how it is. We love our family, but 2 days in after a while,
Yeah.
we're like, oh God, what are we going to do
Yeah.
now? And I can't play any more, card games or all the things. And it's so great for us because everyone's bringing in their paddles and we've all, and everyone's like, oh, here's my new one and here's my backpack. And all the generations are out on the court playing during holidays. And that's what I think is so awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. So I want to do a couple quick questions and then like a rapid fire and then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
All right. Do you prefer to dink or bang?
Dink.
Ding. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
What's your most used emoji?
Fire.
The fire. All right.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it comes to loading the dishwasher, there's two styles. There's the Scandinavian architect, and then there's the raccoon on meth.
Raccoon on meth.
You're a raccoon on meth? Great.
Yes.
All right. And last but not least, I want to hear you say cheers in your best British accent.
Cheers.
Oh, that's awesome. That was really good.
Awesome.
It goes to show that you've done a lot of traveling in your career.
I have. Hey, can we talk 1 second about kitchen cabinets? So whenever you are down here one time, you'll come.
Please.
Okay. So the kitchen cabinet is something, was a brain thought process that I had last November. So of course, every time I come to Suzanne with that, I have this idea. She's like,
Yeah.
But we were at the business symposium last year at Brookhaven, obviously, because it was national in our backyard. So we were there all the time. And they had this amazing symposium at nationals. And I was like, we need to do that on like a regional, smaller level. And so I kept thinking on it and marinating it. And it was such a great idea, but to do that once a year is really hard. So, I kept like kind of mapping it out on paper, and I'm a big mind mapper on a dry erase board. And there's a raccoon meth madness to everything. And so I kept going through it, and Suzanne was like, okay, I see where you're going. And I was like, we need these pickleball business owners need to be able to come to a safe space and have board members. Because that's one of the biggest things is that you need other people chiming in on your business so that you don't sit in such a cave or a silo and you're not seeing 360 omni-channel vision. Like we need all the owls. And so we kept thinking on it, and I was like, so I just want to invite right now it's Texas-based pickleball owners. Obviously you have to be in the industry, own your business, but it really is like an imagination engineering. It's a think tank of other business owners. And it's so wonderful. Evan, we have our third one coming up next week. And the first one we had, 20 people, and then we had 25 at the next one. And then it kind of starts catching on. And Dave Fleming and I were talking about it. And he goes, Ashlee, I love what you're doing. Please keep it going, because he's here locally. And we were at the Pickler in McKinney. And so I keep sending it to him, and I'm like, hey, one of these days you're going to be able to come and be a speaker. But it's really neat. And at the first 30 minutes, we do, kind of networking, and everyone gets to hang out, grab a beer, grab a burger, whatever it is. And then each time we do a spotlight member. And so that spotlight member gets 20 minutes of our time in front of all the board. And so we've got facility owners, we've got paddle owners, we've got, podcast people, we've got, people that have a line of clothing, and everybody comes in, and the spotlight person gets to show a video, and then we do like what's called bring a problem, solve a problem format, and they bring a problem to the table that they need help with solving, and the board members all get to chime in and, do you know this person? Have you thought about this? Don't do it. I've already tried it, kind of thing. Because a lot of these business owners, as you well know, it's you and your dad, and for us, it's just Suzanne and I. And you need other people in a think tank and support and feedback. So, and then we spend the rest of the time educating and learning. And this next time we're playing a game all about pickleball, so everyone can learn the facts and acronyms, and so everybody's got some value in walking away and maybe learning something they didn't have before. So
Yeah.
super exciting. So I wanted to shout it out because it's been.
I love that. I love that. I really appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope one time you get to come, honestly.
I would love to.
Yeah.
I'm not in your market.
No,
but
you always have an invite, Evan. Always.
Yeah, that's so genuine of you. Well, I appreciate your time today. It's been a good chat. I want to hear why you think a hot dog is a sandwich sometime. Yeah.
What is it? I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Well, you kind of have to, everybody's got to make. I can't answer that for you. Yeah. And your dishwasher loading skills leave something to be desired, but that's okay. You're an empty nester. You do your own thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is the visual erratic brain. That's why I have to sit and mind map things. I have a huge dry erase board, and when my mind starts going, that's the artistic marketing side. So I have to just sit and constantly write it out and then erase it and redo it. So it will not surprise you that it's a raccoon mess situation.
That's great. Well, thank you again, and thanks for listening to the Good Get podcast, hosted by Cheers Pickleball. I'm Evan Tepper. To learn more about Cheers, Twisted Pickle, you know where to find us: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, the World Wide Web. And thanks for listening. Thank you, Ashlee.
Thanks, Evan.
All right. Bye.